Welcome to Watching Worst Films, the podcast in which we watch every Razzie Worst Picture winner. This week we have been watching 2009's winner, Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen.
It's broken, isn't it?
Yeah. So, apologies if you're joining in for the first time and you are like, why am I listening to someone slitting the wrist in a bathtub? But yeah, no, this is the first time in the project where I felt this is a really bad idea.
Yeah. Too late now, we can't go back.
Before it was like, hey, I'm watching bad movies with my friend. This is a great time. Whereas this,
Well, I'm Kyle.
oh, I'm Jericho. And as you heard, the movie we watched was Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen.
Yes.
A little bit of context. This one we watched once again through less than legal means because it's not available on any streaming service.
Not for
is
free.
it?
It's not at all. You can
No.
purchase it on Prime. You can get it on YouTube. For
It's not worth that.
$7.99, which is ridiculous. But yeah, it's not a totally legal copy that I borrowed on DVD.
Yeah, so when you were watching that, when we were setting up that totally legal copy, the first thing that like you were just skipping through to check it worked.
Yes.
And we landed, like the first thing we heard was middle of the film, Shia LaBeouf saying, "Stop complaining." And it was like the film speaking to us, preparing us for what we're in for. Like, you chose to watch this 2.5 hour long film of robots hitting each other. You've lost all right to whinge about it being bad.
I think the strange thing is, like, after actually watching it, I don't remember seeing that scene in the
I
film.
missed it as well. I missed it. I
So
was
maybe
like,
it didn't even exist, you know?
I was like, we'll need to keep our eyes peeled, but this film, it's like cinematic anesthesia, and like every thought in my head just this film liquefied my brain,
Yeah.
and I couldn't remember the. Like, I can remember seeing it. I can remember he says it to the Jonah Hill guy,
Yeah.
so I remember where it must be,
It
but
looked
I
like
didn't
it was in the
hear.
desert as well. No,
Yeah,
because
it
also,
was,
like, even
yeah.
on Mummy Dearest, I did the same. You know, you skip through it just to see if it works. And when I reached that in the film, I go, okay, I can kind of remember the timestamp. I kind of
Yeah,
realise
yeah.
how much we've got left. No, yeah, I completely missed it. And I was trying to pay attention anyway.
Our history with this film, you had never seen it before.
Never seen it. I've seen the first Transformers. I went to see that in the cinema as a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And I tapped out after the first one.
Yeah.
Which is a masterpiece in comparison.
Oh, absolutely. The first one, yeah, Citizen Kane compared to this.
So it's not your first experience.
No, I saw this film on release. I was on holiday in LA with my parents. It was like just before I went to university, so our last big family holiday. So I saw this film at Universal City Walk.
Ooh.
And it was just like, this was like a sort of defining life experience for me. So I would say it's one of the first experiences that I can remember where I feel like really personally let down and aggrieved by a movie, because I enjoyed the first one enough.
Yeah.
And then I think relatively late on, but I'd just been becoming that sort of pretentious film guy that I am now, where before I was a kid, where I was like, nah, movies can't be bad. Like, there's, like, I don't know, a bad movie, good movie, how different can it be? Whereas I was just beginning to develop into a snob.
Mm-hmm.
And so I saw this and I was like, this is awful. And I hated watching it. It hurt my head. It was poorly made in a way that I hadn't really thought of a film as being poorly made before. And it was a really alienating experience watching it with that, like, American audience of everyone, like, cheering and going, like, woo, yeah, America, fuck yeah, when, like, an alien robot shoots another alien robot. So I remember having, like, a dreadful experience with it. Like, the only thing that cheered me up was, well, I'll never have to watch that film ever again.
But it didn't stop you. You've seen the other ones, though.
No, I haven't.
No, none of the other sequels.
No, I never.
Just Bumblebee, right?
Yeah, I watched Bumblebee because Michael Bay's not there, and that's a completely different change in direction.
Fair.
I've seen the first one, I've seen this one, and then I watched half of last night for another podcast.
Oh, okay.
So I've seen the first hour and a half of last night.
Was the first hour and a half of last night?
So what I gather from what I gather is that this is the low water mark for the series. This is bad, and the other ones they don't get better, but they're at least less full on than this.
Yeah.
From what I can recall of the opening to last night, it was kind of fun. Anthony Hopkins is in it as like an Alki Merlin, or like Stanley Tucci's in it. Like that's the thing with these Transformers movies is they get like A-list amazing actors, like great character actors. Like if you look at the cast list, you're like, am I watching a Coen Brothers movie? Like Frances McDormand's in this, John Turturro's in this, like Steve Buscemi's in this. In the series, not this one specifically. So no, this I'd never been motivated to check the other ones out, particularly not when they went from Sheila Booth to Marky Mark.
The one you went to see an hour and a half with was Marky Mark, though, right?
That was Marky Mark, yeah. Okay, so where do we start with this? Plot overview. It begins. I don't want to become the guy who compares every film to 2001, because I think I did that with Mommy Dearest. But it begins with a sort of like silhouettes of like a sort of I don't know what the right word is, not Paleolithic, but it begins with like a sort of like silhouetted on a. Can you help me out here? What am I trying to say?
I can't remember. Is this when it was in 16,000 BC?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It begins with that sort of dawn of time, of history.
Which in a little way, like, it's the Roland Emmerich film is the 10,000 BC, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I was kind of, it's a disaster movie. It was a moment I was kind of hopeful for. I'm up for prehistoric civilization fighting robots. Just for a second, I was almost hooked in for a second. Almost.
Maybe that's the Transformers franchise. I'd say it's already back on the tracks with Bumblebee, but maybe they follow the template set by Prey. Yeah. And they're just like, hey, we're going to pick a time period. We're going to shove a Transformer in there. Joan of Arc, did you know that she was actually friends with the Transformer?
Yeah, I'm all for that. I want to see the Crusades with Transformers. I want to see it all.
What's the Stephen King, like 11/23/64?
Yeah.
An alternate history where JFK doesn't get assassinated because the car is a Transformer. Someone takes the shot and the car transforms and runs away with it.
Yeah, so that's the first scene, and it's a sharp little cold open.
Yeah, so it begins with like, hey, so you thought Transformers came to Earth in the 2007 Transformers. Surprise, they didn't. They were actually here since the dawn of civilization, and the Fallen were trying to do something.
Something bad.
Yeah.
Wipe out something.
And the extent to which there is a plot, it's that the Fallen are going to do something bad again.
I mean, so like, again, it's probably been 15 years since I've seen the first one.
Yeah.
But it doesn't actually follow the first one, like with Shia LaBeouf and things. Like, so the first and things. And there's slightly interesting things here. I am grasping for straws here, but him going to college and wanting to normalize life and things is
well, that's what I was going to say. Is there's not much of a plot to speak about with the robots. It's kind of the robots are back. Some of them are working with the U.S. government. Megatron's at the bottom of the sea. Bumblebee's hanging out with Sam Witwicky.
The Bumblebee was in the garage, wasn't he?
With Sam Witwicky.
Oh yeah.
He's like they're buddies. So the robots are kind of doing their own thing, and the Fallen's rumbling in the background. But there is an actual plot for the human characters. Shia is going off to college. Mm-hmm. He's still dating Megan Fox, who I can't remember if they got together at the end or.
I think that's the end of the first one. I mean, my memory's bad, and my brain's turned to mush after this. But from what I remember, it's
that speed thing of like, you know what, nothing bonds a relationship like surviving giant robots. There's the beginnings of a plot there of he's going to college and he doesn't want to take Bumblebee because he's like, hey, I'm just a regular kid now. And he's like, freshmen aren't allowed cars, and also I just want to be normal. I don't want to have like my robot sidekick. So he white fangs Bumblebee, where he's like, you gotta go off and do your own thing.
Yeah.
And then so he's heading off, and then little Transformers smash up his house.
Yeah.
His parents are seeing him off, and then there's a piece of the Allspark which he swallows or something, and it turns every appliance in his house into a transformer.
Yes.
And there's stuff, and then he goes off to college, and his mom eats a pot brownie and goes insane. And then he makes out with a transformer, and then that's kind of all the plot. Then it's just like MacGuffins of like, we've got to go here to do this and do this, and then robot fight, and here's John Turturro explaining some things.
How quickly it falls apart in terms of like plot and structure as well it kind of caught me off guard. I mean, the little Gremlins robot, like you're saying, from the sparks and turning his house, it made no sense. Like, was it gun? You were asking, is it guns? Have they got rocket launchers? Like, why is no one caring? Like, why is no one getting hit? Like, like visually, I was assaulted already at this point, and this is 10 minutes in. I have no concept of time anymore. But
see, we peaked. I was still enjoying. Okay, we'll start with this. Some of the first things I said to you were that I feared I was going to enjoy this film.
Yeah.
I was like,
I was going to quote you in this in the end.
Yeah, I was like, this film can't possibly be as bad as I thought it was when I was 18. I was like, this is going to be like you were like a teenager and everything's raw and everything's the worst and everything. I was like, and also the way that filmmaking, I've gone the other way with being a snob, where I've passed through, I've reached new levels of snobbery, where I'm like, oh, there's things about this that'll probably be good in comparison to today's blockbuster landscape of like, and it's like I watched that the new Michael Bay film, Ambulance, and I was like, oh, maybe I like Michael Bay, because this is directed by a person, like you can feel the presence of an artist behind this, in comparison to like Marvel production line number installment 23. So there was a part of me that feared that I would enjoy this, which I had that stupid fear, because I wish I had enjoyed this.
Because even when you were saying that, I could see the groundwork and the prototype for these Marvel films already. Like, when this is, I don't know what year's Iron Man is.
2008.
2008. So yeah,
Iron Man just.
But the evolution of the Marvels to the absolute guff they become, I could see this.
Well, do we want to speak about the Whedon gag? That's my final note. I was taking notes throughout the film, and then I just gave up.
Because I did not take notes for this, because I just didn't think I'd need to. I thought it'd be memorable enough as well to speak about, but I was wrong. But I noticed you were scribbling down notes.
I flew out of the traps. Right, I was like taking... I wrote
ready to go.
half a page of notes, but all of them came within the first 10 minutes. And then I was completely... By the time Sam goes to college, I am checked out.
Yeah.
And then...
This is the movie, though, so you're alright.
And then the only note I took... In fact, you can see the chronology. I have Rainn Wilson -indie. So that's college, and then the only note I have after that is Whedon gag.
Yeah, okay.
Because they have the Whedon gag, which... To listeners unfamiliar with the Whedon gag, the Whedon gag is that hilarious thing where there's an explosion and two heroes are blown away, and get this right, the male hero and the lady hero, they end up landing in a compromising sexual position, and it's funny. That's the Joss Whedon gag. He does it in Avengers, he does it in the Justice League.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
And they do that here. I was so blown away with like, oh my god, it's the Whedon gag. Like, people have traced, did you see people have traced So That Happened? Like, people have traced the origin of So That Happened.
Okay.
Maybe I'd like someone to do that, is to do a deep dive and to find me the first instance of the Whedon gag. Who invented that? Because this predates, I think he does the Whedon gag in Buffy. Yeah. But this predates the Marvel one.
Yeah. But watch it be a Buster Keaton reference or something, you know?
It must be. It's kind of like a slapstick. I don't know. I'm inclined to, like, if you did it once, I'm inclined to let you off as like a whatever. But when you're like a notorious like sex pest and you do it in every single film, when it's your trademark, then that becomes like, okay, clearly we need to delve into why you're doing this all the time.
So I think it's one of your notes. I think Rainn Wilson was my last. It being an Indiana Jones reference as well. But that makes sense now that I think about it, because when's Crystal Skull?
2008.
Okay, well that's why I'm like, oh.
They wanted to get Harrison Ford. He's like, I'm busy.
So I will get his Mexican non-union equivalent. Yeah, strange to see it rain, but I did actually.
Oh, sorry, Shia. I hadn't thought about Shia being in both.
Yeah, that's my point.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's no reference.
I thought you were meaning like Harrison Ford.
No. Because she had took that, when it gets taken back off him.
Yeah.
Who set up as a successor.
He was like, fine line, get out of the Transformers franchise and moving up in the world.
After one movie.
So we should explain to the listeners, Rainn Wilson is in this for one scene. He gets a little post, like, inter-credit sting, but he's in it for one scene as the college professor that she is studying under.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they, like, portray this guy is they're like, he is a hunk. Yeah. He is like that scene in Indiana Jones where all the girls are blinking and they have like love you written on. They're trying to do that, but with Dwight from The Office,
which could be a gag in itself, but it never plays off like that, really, does it?
Exactly. That's I was like, it's almost like it's so close to being a good gag of like schools and colleges were like that, of like you look back at the people who were considered the hot teacher. And it's like, oh, it's someone who was hotter than the 50-year-old.
I said hair, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's someone who was
one chin rather than four, yeah.
Someone who was like within 10 years of like your age, but would never look twice. But in the context of like a school, Steve Buscemi becomes like Brad Pitt. So if they'd lent into that, great. But they don't really.
I don't think it was intentional. Like I don't know what is intentional in here. Like especially after he said like the weed gag when his mum takes a brownie and acts like a 5-year-old on sugar. Like it's so. I don't know what's in. I'm blaming Alex Kurtzman again. Like so, yeah.
Well, you have a vendetta against Kurtzman, don't you? Vested interest here,
and it's all going to come round because I think I'm going to talk about him when we finally get around to Star Trek 5. Even though this is way before his involvement in the franchise, but just to see where the franchise was, even when it was hated, what Kurtzman does to it. No.
Is it specifically Kurtzman? Because who's that other guy? Robert Archie?
Yeah, well, he's exactly. I mean, the movies.
Because I'm sure Archie and Kurtzman are like a partnership.
But the TV shows
is
still under Kurtzman's thumbs, and they all suck, and I hate them all, and they ruin something. It's a moan for another day. But this is, seeing his name on here, pretty close to the original Star Trek reboot as well. The year of Kurtzman is still riding this wave, but he's a hack, and. There's 3 writers on this as well, isn't there?
At least, yeah. There's Archie, Kurtzman, and then at least one more person.
Yeah, the third stooge. So no, yeah, fair enough. But like I say, none of it feels intentional. Up until this point, it feels very strange. Which I could, if it leaned into this more and more, like, and I did say this, I wasn't really interested in the robots.
Well, I'm the opposite. So when it was peaking for me very early on, they have that. So some of the Transformers are working with the U.S. government to try and track down other Transformers that have Decepticons that have infiltrated or escaped and are just causing trouble. And so they're sort of like a Transformer, like the Transformers, almost like the police dog, like leading this entourage or this cavalcade of military people. And they're driving through like a construction site, and then all of a sudden, like a wrecking ball transforms. And surprise, it's a Transformer, and they fight. And that to me, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like when there's no human, like Shia hadn't even been introduced yet. I was like, okay, if this is just like action scenes, cars driving fast, filmed in real environments, shot kind of okay. Well, let's say shot well.
Yeah, please.
Oh, I like that idea, that almost like the Transformers like horror movie of like they're just like they could be anywhere.
Yeah,
like
absolutely. And you're out living in the woods, surrounded by nature because you don't want anything technological around you.
No, I mean like Transformers hunting other Transformers.
Oh no,
I want I don't know if I've spoken about my Hannibal obsession on the podcast yet, but basically I want Hannibal with robots. Of the Autobots are trying to track down the other, and they could be anywhere. It's like a serial killer. Like you don't know, like that car, that old lady's mobility scooter could be a Decepticon.
This very podcast could be a Decepticon.
This mic could strangle me. So that was where with the film I was like, oh, is this actually going to be like somewhat enjoyable? But it doesn't. They introduce like Sam Witwicky and human characters and a bunch of soldiers, and they introduce too many human characters, and the robots, there's too many robots. It's too chaotic. Like, it gets sore to look at, and it very much goes downhill.
Very quick.
I don't know what else to talk about. Music. Do you want to talk about the music?
Well, you could talk about the first thing you noticed was a certain Green Day.
So they play 21 Guns by Green Day from the album 21st Century Breakdown. They play it at least 3 times, I want to say.
Four, I think we counted. I think it was 4.
Is it 4? They play it once. They play it
twice
like when he's
Fox as well.
Oh, you cut back to that. Yeah, if you count, like, she's on Skype listening to it while Shia LaBeouf is at Indie Club. He's not listening to Indie Club, unfortunately.
He's not listening to 21 Guns either. He's listening to Linkin Park, I think.
It's Linkin Park.
Yeah. I think it's because I can't remember. They did the soundtrack anyway, or they were involved in the soundtrack, or whatever. I don't know.
Well, the closest thing we have to like a plot thread line is Megan Fox wants Shia LaBeouf to say "I love you," and he doesn't want to say it, and they could have used that as like if they'd rooted it more in the relationship, it could have been not even a good film, but like it could have been something approaching a film.
Yeah.
So if they sort of shown like she has transformed himself.
Yeah.
He's no longer the guy that you knew. If she was like, "Hey babe, like let's listen to our song 21 Guns," and he's like, "Nah, I'm kind of." That's what it is. It's Nickelback. He's listening to Nickelback.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I don't know how I can forget.
2009.
He's listening to Nickelback in the club. I think "Burn It to the Ground."
Mm-hmm.
Something off Dark Horse. Anyway, listeners, you might fear why I have such an encyclopedic knowledge of media from 2009, but this was when we haven't spoken about us working at Asda.
No, we haven't
slip.
We're breaking the fourth wall here.
Jericho and Kyle Origins. We met working at
Home and
the CD and DVD department of Asda, and so everything that came out from that sort of time period is frozen in my head.
It's there, like the rise of Lady Gaga and things.
Yeah,
coincides perfectly. Like.
Yeah, so they listen to 21 Guns, Nickelback's in here. There's really not anything worth speaking about.
I mean, we're focusing on the first 15-20 minutes here. Yeah. They go to Egypt and the robots fight.
Tom Kenny's in it.
Tom Kenny, yeah. So that's my biggest, and spoilers, but yeah, Tom Kenny plays a little annoying robot.
Yeah.
And it's probably my biggest takeaway is I hope Tom Kenny got a decent paycheck from this.
Let's conclude talking about this with our usual things. Was this a worthy winner? Absolutely.
Absolutely. And beforehand, I would have said no. And that's naivety on my point, but like I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to be such a. What did I say? It was just it's draining. I was numb. My brain just stopped working. Like, mouse were moving, things were flashing every microsecond, and I just couldn't remember. Like my brain just wasn't processing information anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And you say I've seen this in the theater with I see like IMAX and stuff, but like how? Because my head hurts. It actually does hurt from watching this.
Yeah, I remember Bourne. I saw one of the Bourne films, and I was quite close to the screen, and that gave me a bit of a headache just with all the shaky cam.
Mm-hmm.
And then Transformers 2. I think those were the only times in the cinema I've ever complained. Like I don't know, like Dunkirk on IMAX, whatever. Plenty of front row experiences, but Bourne and Transformers were the only times where I could physically feel my eyes like glazing over, about to fall out of my sockets.
Yeah, that put me to sleep. And for such 2.5 hours of robots fighting and explosions and
just things grinding into each other,
just breaks you down. Like, do you have anything positive to say? Bar the first 15 minutes?
No, there's some interesting things before I completely checked out. When he's at college and he meets like his roommates who are all like sort of incel types, that's weird because it's almost like a proto social network. When they have all the women on the wall.
Yeah,
like
that's weird.
They have casting photos of women. Like it's like, are these guys like running like an amateur porn studio? Is this Michael Bay's like office? Like why are there? Because they're very specifically casting photos of their sort of like head and shoulder, like not head and shoulders. They're like
it's casting
sort of like and
it's an office
mid shots of women up against like the same backdrop.
Absolutely.
Like Polaroids, like a serial killer or a porn producer, whatever it was.
And with the Bad Boys 2 poster as well,
it
makes me think this was just shot in his office because But okay, yeah, that's it.
That was just weird.
That was weird.
That was something. So before I checked out,
there was enough weird things up until that point to keep me relatively invested.
Yeah.
Like just minor things, but after that, when the film kicks in, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Mommy Dearest. I take it all back. I will watch you tomorrow and the next day, anytime. Then think about this again.
Okay, so changes you can make to improve this. Do you have any?
Jesus. Not really. I mean, you'd have to change so much.
Mm-hmm.
No, like I could think maybe the only thing you could make it worse. And now I'm going to regret saying this as well, but I don't think Shia was the worst part of the movie.
No. Well, I guess we haven't really spoken about that when Shia eats the Allspark and it makes him into Rain Man.
He makes him into Rain Man. And, I mean, he was animated. He looked like he was moving around a lot on his own. Compared to Megan Fox, he felt like a human being.
Yeah, it's difficult with the allegations about Shia LaBeouf being a terrible individual. I don't want to give him too much praise.
No, it's not. I think he's good
in
an isolated, just
separate the art from the artist. The man said of Transformers 2.
Just he's not the worst part about it, and
no, I think he's good. I genuinely think he has a lot of stuff to do, but I think certainly in comparison to other people, I think he's good. Yes. I think
that's the only way I could make this worse is if there was a worse lead. I think if Wahlberg was...
I was about to say, I think Mark Wahlberg was in it. Can you imagine Mark Wahlberg playing Rain Man?
I'd like to see him in the college setting as well.
Yeah.
Because with all the other 4-year-olds...
Mark Wahlberg making out with a Transformer. Mark Wahlberg cheating on his high school girlfriend with a Transformer.
Yeah. So that's one thing to make it worse. And to make it better, you'd have to make a different film.
Well, my thing, which I spoke to you about at the time, it's already very close through the presence of John Turturro and Tom Kenny. I'd want to see this, because Michael Bay's kind of stolen the Coen repertoire, I'd want to see, the Happy Madison version of this.
Yeah.
Where we've got, Adam Sandler's doing the funny voices, Optimus Prime. We've got, Rob Schneider's in here somewhere.
Like I say, Kevin James is an obese robot. Sign me up, but this is a different film.
Yeah, or the Mr. Show,
yes,
I argue that's maintaining the same film if you just cram all of the supporting roles are filled with Mr. Show alumni.
Yeah.
Sarah Silverman can play Judy Witwicky.
Odenkirk could have been the government lad.
Yeah.
Cross as the professor.
Oh, David Cross would have been so good. He would have been so funny.
Yeah, I mean, you could have easily filled in, but it would have made me smile a bit more, but I would still be an unwatchable mess.
I don't know. I think if Scott Aukerman is running around in the second half, that at least keeps me tethered to the film in a way that I was just away in the clouds. Shia.
Okay, yeah.
No, Paul F. Tompkins is his dad. He's the dad. And I actually think he'd be pretty good at that.
Probably, yeah.
Some of them are ironic, but Paul F. Tompkins, I think he would be good at the... I suppose we need to discuss the nominations or the wins for this film. As you know, Transformers Revenge of the Fallen won worst picture. That's why we're speaking about it. Megan Fox was nominated for Worst Actress. They did that double thing where she's nominated for both Jennifer's Body and Revenge of the Fallen. That's a weird one where you can never quite ascertain what the cutoff level is. Normally it's sometimes you get someone who's terrible and you're okay, this is for both of them. But oftentimes there's one Razzie-worthy performance or one Razzie-worthy film, and then they just want to say, and they were in another film this year.
A double dunking.
Because Jennifer's Body, I don't think she's Razzie-worthy for Transformers, and I think she's good in Jennifer's Body.
Okay. I'm not seeing Jennifer's Body, but I'm going to say she deserves a nomination.
Yeah.
She doesn't do much, but she's... And I'm not dunking on her as a human, but she is more robotic than half the robots in film.
Oh, that's cool.
She's just so... No, Yeah, I'm gonna say she deserves her nomination.
Fair enough. Worst supporting actress, Julie White as Judy Witwicky. She lost to Sienna Miller. She deserves it. She was awful.
She is very, 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 very bad. In a different way, though, to me, than Megan Fox.
Megan Fox is the worst you can say about Megan Fox is that she's just kind of wooden. She's a bit, but she was more 3-dimensional than I thought.
Really?
Yeah, I thought she was one of those Cara Delevingne, just there's nothing going on.
That's what I thought. That's what I seen.
No, there was a little bit I did believe that she was in a relationship with Sam, and maybe I don't know. We need to watch the third one where she's replaced by Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, who is that model and actor, and maybe that'll make us respect what we had, and you don't know what he's got till it's gone.
Okay, I think this is our first proper disagreement on in the Razzies.
I'm a Megan Fox fan. No, I thought she, while not great, she's leagues away from Judy Witwicky, the mum, who awful. She's awful. And we always say performances not made in isolation. But Judy Witwicky's awful because the material, it's not a great character, but there's just little things when she's make the US government build me a hot tub and a swimming pool and I'm gonna skinny dip. And then she's doing something, she says something to the dad and Sam's oh gross, my parents, whatever. And none of it's believable. No. I didn't buy them as being parents or in a relationship with each other.
And her accent's all over the place as well.
Oh yeah, she's time for you to go to college, Samuel Witwicky. And then if we're speaking of the Razzie highlight reel, the Oscars, you can just play her weed scene, and that'll be yep, no, she's worth it on the weed acting alone.
On her direction, however.
Imagine if she's Daniel Day-Lewis. She's I consumed 100 Paul brownies every day to get into character for this.
But yeah, worthy nomination.
And then worst screen couple, Sheila Booth and either Megan Fox or any Transformer. That's fair enough.
That's fair enough. I have no chemistry. I can't remember them having any in the first film, but that's how big strong you're going to die on this hill.
I
actually didn't think he had bad chemistry with Bumblebee, though.
No, he does, yeah. Bumblebee's great. So
I'm going to say no, that's probably not... Half of this nomination isn't right, but...
Well, they stumbled on, that's Bumblebee, is that the movie Bumblebee is just a coming-of-age thing with, a student and their car. Mm-hmm. So they'd sort of stumbled on the formula way back here of, hey, you know that, 20 seconds, it's just Sheila Booth and Bumblebee interacting.
Yes.
Well, if we ditch everything else and we just make that into a movie, and we don't have the abuser guy, we have Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll agree with you.
I would say the parents probably deserve the nomination for worst combo.
Oh, they were dreadful. And the fact that they're in the finale, the bulldozer just spits them out.
I'm not sure why they've got so much screen time. In fact, even the Jonah Hill character, I didn't buy he was Shia's friend at all.
Yeah.
So we should say that's a worst combo as well.
We should say the Jonah Hill character, it was originally offered to Jonah Hill and he turned it down, so it's some unnamed actor. But you look at it and you're oh yeah, that was meant to be Jonah Hill. Yeah, I agree with you. It was also nominated for worst prequel, remake, ripoff, or sequel.
Yeah, well, it's a worst sequel.
Yeah. Worst director, it won for Michael Bay.
Yes.
That's 100% deserved.
100%. This is one of the worst directed films I've ever seen.
Because it's just unwatchable in the physical sense that it hurts to watch.
And the direction of the film is unwatchable. The CGI, the mess of robots fighting each other is disgusting. But the human elements of it as well are so poorly directed. The colour choices, the lighting, every creative decision, which I'm blaming all on Michael Bay. I'm assuming he had complete...
Well, all of his films kind of look similar, so yeah.
I can't remember them. I can't remember the first one looking this bad.
No, he has his tendencies, but this just pushes all of them to the max. Yeah, everyone always harps on about the Michael Bay colour grade, where blues and oranges and all the skin tones are everyone's Oompa Loompa.
Yeah, was the lens flare so bad? I mean, that made me think of Kurtzman and Star Trek again.
That's Abrams.
Yeah, I know, but
Kurtzman.
he's getting the blame for everything now. But like, just reminded me of Star Trek. That connection, like, was he always as bad with the lens flare? Like,
I wouldn't say lens flare was a Bayism exactly. I guess there are lots of swooping, spiraling like shots of like jingoistic, like helicopters flying, that kind of like. He loves like a big military vehicle and like the sun,
all these cliches
like
and stuff. Yeah, but like, I just don't remember them looking so disgusting. But yeah, he deserves it 100%.
And then finally, this might be like showing red to a bull, but worst screenplay: Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, Erin Kruger, Roberto Orci, and Alex Kurtzman.
Based on Hasbro get a half nomination there as well.
Yeah, it would be at the Oscars. It would be an adapted screenplay because it's based off the.
And this has got to be compared to the Oscars. Yeah, no, I can't believe it took 3 people to write this. For how much of the film is just robots flying about and smashing each other with no plot, I don't know how there's 3 people that are on this.
Well, we'll get into this in the second half, but I almost disagree with you, but for very, very similar reasons.
Okay.
So join us in the second half when we will be discussing all of the other nominations for the year of 2009.
See you soon.
Hello, and welcome back to part 2, where we'll be discussing all of the other winners and nominees from the cinematic year of 2009. So, Worst Picture, obviously, Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, worthy winner. All About Steve, which was the Sandra Bullock, Bradley Cooper rom-com, which neither of us have seen.
Nope.
G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, so that was the sequel.
Okay, what was it?
Is
that not the first one? If it's the first one.
Oh, no, sorry, it's the first one. It is the first one.
Okay, so I've seen a bit of this first one. Retaliation's a sequel. I don't remember much about it, but Transformers is worse.
It's a weird one because it just kind of is the same movie as Transformers, like a toy adaptation, like a toy adaptation made by like a 90s action guy that's kind of just dull and uninteresting. But Transformers is so much worse in every kind of regard. So
it's year Hasbro, but
poor Hasbro. Then we got Land of the Lost. Did you see that?
I've never seen Land of the Lost.
Land of the Lost, I don't think it's particularly Razzie worthy. It's a weird platypus type creature where it's not like it's Will Ferrell just on the cusp. He's just going off the boil. Like the hot streak of Talladega Nights, Anchorman, Step Brothers, that's gone, but he's not purely become the campaign or the house or no. He's not fully washed up, but he's beginning to go off the boil.
The star's fading.
Yeah, and similarly, the movie is like I thought it was one of those like family friendly like Journey to the Center of the Earth.
That's what I think.
No, because Danny McBride's in it, and he's like, "Hey, come to my souvenir shop and get yourself a titty mug. You like titty mugs? And like he's like, Anna Friel's in it. He's like, "Oh yeah, why didn't you sit in that spin?"
Jesus.
And like at the end, he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna stay in the Land of the Lost because there are a lot of naked ladies running around here, and I like,
all right.
I like this place." So that's also not what it is. Like, it's not a full-on raunch fest.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you remove Danny McBride, the film would almost work as that, but they've just chucked in like a James Franco, like Seth Rogen guy. I'm trying to think if he even has a joint at any point, or if he's, "Hey, Will, I found this wheat brownie here in the Land of Lost." Anyway, I don't think it's Razzie worthy.
Okay, fair.
Old Dogs.
Oh yeah, Old Dogs.
I got Old Dogs confused with Wild Hogs.
I just the way to say it. Is this the Travolta? That's not Travolta, is it?
This is Travolta. I think they're both Travolta. This is Travolta and Robin Williams.
Never seen
Wild Hogs, I think, is Travolta and William H. Macy.
Yeah, the group of them in the bike.
Yeah.
I've seen that. I was going to comment. I was like, yes, I have something to talk about. No, I've not seen Old Dogs.
Oh, okay. Interesting cast: Justin Long, Seth Green, and Dax Shepard.
It's 2009, baby. Bernie Mac.
All of them soon to be seen in that NFT show. So we're not going to have anything which can top Transformers.
Not top.
Any omissions? Any any notable mentions for you? Anything that should be
nominated? Well, again, I said this to you, pre-watching this movie, I would have been throwing Terminator Salvation in there.
Yeah.
That's one of my least favourite things ever. But no, give me Salvation. Give me anything any day. Give me anything any day. Nothing could. There might have been a few nominations you could add in there, but not worthy winners.
I agree. Nothing is touching Transformers. It's the Muhammad Ali of the Razzies. But I would have put Terminator Salvation in probably for Land of the Lost. Maybe even for G.I. Joe.
To be honest, yeah.
Worst actor, we have John Travolta in Old Dogs, Eddie Murphy in Imagine That. I have not seen Imagine That, but I reference it all the time. This is like the hot streak of Eddie Murphy. I don't know. Eddie Murphy was kind of doing two things at that point in time, wasn't he? He was doing the Norbit fat suit stuff.
Yeah, Norbit's not far away from this time, is it?
No, it was Dreamgirls. Was it 2008, 2007? Yeah. This is kind of roundabout Norbit. But Eddie Murphy was making his Norbit fat suit things where he plays every character. And he was also doing saccharine family movies where he doesn't spend enough time with his kids, and his kids make some wish that forces him to spend more time with them.
Okay.
And so I think that's what Imagine That is. There you go. It's like the tagline is, "What if your daughter's imagination was the secret to your success?" Okay, yeah. It's some sort of magical realism
thing. Some sort of liar, got to spend time with your kids.
Exactly.
But 10 years out of date.
Yeah, and it's very close to 1,000 words.
Okay.
Which, do you know the premise for that one? He's like a fast-talking businessman. He's like an Eddie Murphy character. And they're like, he's a dad who spends too much time talking about mergers and not enough time listening to his kids. And his daughter wishes on her birthday, I wish my daddy couldn't talk or something. And so he gets limited to 1,000 words. And so every time he speaks, it costs him. And
does it refresh?
No, I don't think they establish. I've not seen it. I've only seen the trailer. But I don't think they establish what happens when he runs out. If they're like, tough, that's it, you're a mute. Or if they're like, he dies. Because obviously, I haven't seen it, but the daughter undoes the wish. Once he learns to listen and learns the lesson, he gets his words back.
Yeah.
But in my head, the daughter was specific. She specified the terms and conditions.
Yeah, what's the rules?
Dear birthday fairy, please kill my daddy if he says more than 1,000 words over his lifetime. So I love the genre of dad doesn't spend enough time with their kids and is transformed into a thing. Yeah. Like the Kevin Spacey movie where his kids transform him into a cat.
Oh,
he doesn't spend enough time. Yeah. That was 2016, 2015. Yeah. That was a Trump one.
Yeah.
But the 2000s was a great period for business dads. That needs to make a comeback. I don't know how it works in the working from home era.
No.
But maybe the dad gets transformed. The dad gets sucked into a Zoom call.
You flip it. My dad spends too much time with me. I wish he was a businessman.
We need to write this. Adam Sandler becomes a man-child.
Yeah.
A man-child who spends too much time with his kids and they transform into Ebenezer Scrooge.
I wish my dad had a job.
Steve Martin in the Pink Panther 2. You seen that?
I've not seen the Pink Panther 1. The Steve Martin, but not, tapped out, obviously. And I've said on the previous podcast, when we're talking about Mancini and my love for the older Pink Panthers, Steve Martin, and even with not seen it, I can't imagine why he'd be nominated, because, it's the Pink Panther.
I think he's dreadful.
Yeah, okay, no.
Okay, you can clear this up for me. I would like to buy a hamburger. Is that in the first one?
Yes. I think.
If the hamburgers bit was in the second one, I would declare him un-Razzie worthy on the basis of that one scene.
Okay.
But if that's only in the first one, then no, sorry.
Okay, well, he deserves it. Deserves it then.
Will Ferrell in Land of the Lost.
No comment.
Yeah, he's not really worthy. Jonas Brothers, the 3D concert experience. I really hate stuff like this because this is just the Razzies picking people that they want to shit on, and it's them hating teenage girls, and it just becomes Mr. Razzie, you're a 60-year-old man at this point in time. Why are you hating on teen idols or things that teen girls or preteen girls like? The Jonas Brothers 3D experience was not made for you, Mr. Razzie.
Yeah.
Like, I highly doubt it was offensive enough that, like, it's just like old man yells at cloud. These Beatles are.
I assume it's a concert thing, right?
Yeah, it's just like a tour documentary, like Justin Bieber Never Say Never. It's
if you're playing yourself, you're not even acting, so you can't really be the worst actor. Like,
yeah.
No. You can't play yourself and be bad at playing yourself.
Well, we'll retract that when we get to the Donald Trump year, but yeah. Worst actress, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Did You Hear About the Morgans? We're continuing the Sex and the City theme from last week. Megan Fox in Jennifer's Body and Transformers, we discussed that, not worthy, moving on. Miley Cyrus in Hannah Montana the movie. I haven't seen Hannah Montana the movie. I've seen some of the show. I like Miley Cyrus. I don't think she's also kind of playing herself.
And I have seen a movie played when we worked in Asta. I'm sure it was.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, because I've seen it, but I couldn't remember where. Along with Santa Claus 3 would have been on at that time as well.
Is that Martin Short?
Yeah. Jack Frost. Yeah, I remember it well. Robbed. She doesn't deserve here. Again, like, there's performances and songs and stuff. Andrew's basically playing herself. Like, it's Mr. Razzie.
Mr. Razzie being like, this movie wasn't made for me.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Beyonce in Obsessed. Have you seen that?
I've never even heard of it.
It's a weird Idris Elba movie where Beyonce and Idris Elba are a married couple, and like there's a woman, what's her name? She's probably nominated, to be honest. Ali Larter. Ali Larter is like the intern at the office who like wants to seduce Idris Elba, and then she's crazy. She's obsessed.
Oh.
And she's like a psychopath. It's one of those movies. I haven't seen Basic Instinct. I assume it's one of those women be crazy movies. Beyonce, it's hard to evaluate her performance because it's not Foxy Cleopatra levels, but she's kind of bad and she's kind of wooden. But spoilers, she has like an amazing fight scene at the end with Ali Larter, where like it just turns into like a kung fu movie, like that she's throwing her like through banisters. And on the basis of that, I'm like, oh no, that's so good. If this movie had just been like Beyonce in The Matrix, I'd have kind of liked this.
I mean, I don't have everything I've seen Beyonce in. I can't actually say she's that bad. I mean, she's energetic. She tries, and there's some charisma, and there's some.
Well, she's subdued, and she's playing like a plain Jane housewife here, so that's not great casting in terms of why do you cast a pop megastar to play like
a high energy one as well.
Yeah, exactly. So she's a little bit like stuck with being like, Idris, why is this lipstick on your collar? Idris, why are you staying out all night? And then as soon as you come even close to letting her off the reins with like the action scene, you're like, oh no, this woman's a star.
Yes, okay.
So that's why I'm not sure about that nomination. Sandra Bullock, winner for All About Steve. This is one of those years where she won the Oscar for Blindside.
So an Oscar and a Razzie winner in the same year?
Yeah, back to back.
Is this the first?
No, there'd been others. I think there's 3 in total maybe.
Okay. Interesting.
Then we move on to Worst Supporting Actor. Marlon Wayans in G.I. Joe as Ripcord.
Which I can't remember, but...
Did you have like G.I. Joes as a kid?
I love G.I. Joes. I had the American ones. You know,
there were only American ones.
Was there? I thought we had the tiny one, the 3-inch ones though. The ones that were called like cores over here, the corpse. That's what I was being in. There was like the tiny little.
There were a lot of sort of like non-brand.
Not the big Action Man. Because Action Man was our G.I. Joes, right?
No, I think G.I. Joes were all small.
I'm sure G.I. Joes were big back in the day, and then they made them small. Anyway, I had loads and loads and loads, and I also had VHSs of the G.I. Joe, All American Hero, like the Cobra and all that. I was quite obsessed as a young child with them. I don't really remember it quite much, but I did have the figure of them.
See, I had no experience with G.I. Joes, so all of my knowledge of it comes from American media I've consumed as an adult. I've been like, oh yeah, Cobra Commander. Or the movie. The movie was my introduction to all of them. Okay, fair. And so all of them kind of blend into one, where I'm like, Ray Park, he was one of them.
Yeah.
But I do not remember Marlon Wayans at all.
Not at all. Not at all. And yeah, like I said, just because I was a massive fan, the film isn't the animated show from the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like I'm going to say no comment.
Yeah. Jorma Taccone in Land of the Lost as Chaka.
How is he?
Fine.
Yeah.
He's like he's playing like a non-speaking like caveman, kind of vaguely simian, like
Fair.
and like I don't know, not a great role, but like kind of fine.
But not
doesn't stand out, certainly not. And then once again, hold me back. Robert Pattinson in the Twilight Saga, New Moon.
Which one's New Moon?
New Moon's the second one.
Okay.
New Moon's the one where Bella sits in the chair for a year, I think. And I think he's probably in Razzies are never great for categories, but I think he's in New Moon the least. Because I think this is the one where he's like, no, Bella, we can't be together. And he goes off, and then she gets with the werewolf.
Taylor Lautner.
Yeah, so I can't really...
He's a supporting actor, though. That's the nomination, so...
Yeah. So in defense of I could see the Razzies. Like the Razzies don't know what supporting performance and good performance is, but like in this one, I think he might be in it less than he's in the other ones.
Okay.
Where he's out of the picture for a long streak of it, and I find it hard to because I watched all the Twilight movies in lockdown. I find it hard to separate them from movie to movie.
Yeah. Fair.
But in all of them, he's not. Like, you're not going to get, like, an awards-worthy performance in, like, teen trash.
No.
But he's not bad by any means.
Okay, that's fair. I've not seen New Moon. I've seen the first and last Twilight.
Well, you can probably tell. Like, he does the job.
Yeah, because the first one, there's a lot of woodenness and stuff, but, like, by the last one was so gung-ho and fun that everyone's having a good time.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't put him in. And I'm not... Especially early Pattinson, not a huge fan, but that's not... I personally, but I don't know, I've never seen the film. So no comment.
I think this is Mr. Razzie hating teenage girls and their interests.
Yeah,
Hugh Hefner as himself in Miss March.
Doesn't count. I don't know what Miss March is.
I think this is a cameo as opposed to a documentary.
Okay.
I think people can be bad as themselves.
Yes.
Like if you're a bad... I disagree with it less with documentary. I think documentary, that's down to the director. If you're making a concert movie about the Jonas Brothers and they're never comfortable enough to seem human or have let their walls down, that's a failing on you as a director. But if you cast, like, say, Donald Trump in a cameo role and he's awkward and unconvincing and seems like an actor, then I think you can be bad at playing yourself.
Sorry.
And then the winner, Billy Ray Cyrus in Hannah Montana the movie as Robbie Ray Stewart. Rather.
Robbie Ray, Billy Ray, totally different people. Yeah, I strongly don't agree. I agree. I'm not a Billy Ray stan. I'm not going to be standing on it, but I don't know if it's the winner.
Yeah, maybe not winner, but he does.
He does suck. He does suck.
He's not a good actor.
Did you see him blaming David Lynch for Hannah Montana? Well, because Mulholland Drive, and he was like, if I didn't get Mulholland Drive, she wouldn't get Hannah Montana, and she would become the devil. And that breaks my achy heart.
Worst supporting actress, Julie White, and Transformers is Judy Whitwicky. Terrible.
100%.
Kelly Preston, R.I.P. in Old Dogs, as Vicky Greer. Oh, that reminds me. I thought I was like, Judy Greer could probably have been a better Sam Witwicky's mom.
Yeah. Would she not have been too young at the time?
Yeah, actually, when you put her next to that guy, this is kind of just past the Arrested Development period when she's like, intern secretary as opposed to, Ali Larter in Obsessed. Yeah, she's pretty bad. Candice Bergen in Bride Wars, another movie I saw on the dates.
I've seen Bride Wars.
Do you remember her?
Not really. I watched this in 2011, 2012 with my cousin when I was down in England, and it's one of her favourite films. So it was her choice, and she was stuck on Bride Wars. But no, I can't really comment on her performance.
I do not remember her. Sienna Miller in G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra as the Baroness. I know lots of people don't like Sienna Miller. I think she's certainly become a lot better recently in terms of she's like the go-to character actress of like, if you see a woman who you don't recognise and she's good, semi-frequently it'll come up Sienna Miller and you're like, what? Wait, that was her? I know she had like that period with the sort of Jude Law years where she was a little bit like wooden and a little
Yeah,
bit,
that's what I'm remembering the most.
like that sort of Keira Knightley stunted kind of awkward.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she was okay in G.I. Joe. Certainly not worse than Judy Whitwicky.
No. That's yeah, Judy. Sorry, wasn't it Julie? Rather, should have won that.
A worst screen couple: Kristen Stewart and either Taylor Lautner or Robert Pattinson in Twilight Saga: New Moon. Yeah, like no one really has much chemistry in that.
I mean, the Stewart and Pattinson.
They're similar energy.
They've got similar energy, and being a real life couple never hurts either. Like, so I'm gonna take Pattinson out there.
I agree. Pattinson, I can let go more, but Lautner
is it's so. And again, I've not seen it, but like
we'll cover that when we review the Twilight winner.
Yes.
But Sheila Booth and either Megan Fox or any Transformer, we've kind of discussed that. Will Ferrell and any co-star creature or comic riff in Land of the Lost.
Which is a bullshit nomination.
Yeah, and also not really deserved. Like there's a bit where dinosaur pisses on him, and that's kind of cringy. But
how can you be a worst on-screen couple with with a comic riff? Like that's
exactly.
That's Mr. Razzie just thinking he's funny, and
like the fact that it's
I'm funnier than Land of Lost. Like, no, you're not.
If they just said comic riff, but they're like Will Ferrell and any co-star creature or comic riff, it's like Will Ferrell and anything he like says or does or thinks, some of the expressions he makes, like the shadow, like the way his hair looks.
That's it. Like, it's got to be a legit. And I would take like a Transformer or something, and then on CGI thing
for sure.
A Mac and me, I'll always take.
If they just said Will Ferrell and any like comic riff, it would have been like a bullshit Razzie thing, but at least would have been like concise.
Yeah.
Whereas this is just like, they just want to say we don't like Will Ferrell.
100%.
Any two or more Jonas Brothers in Jonas Brothers, a 3D concert experience. worst screen couple. There's three of them. Worst screen throuple. The Jonas Brothers.
And your brothers, yeah. Okay, how bad can your chemistry be?
Sandra Bullock and Bradley Cooper were the winners for All About Steve, which at the very least they are an actual on-screen couple.
Yes. So I'm going to say, even without seeing it, that's probably been deserved because that's bad film.
Worst prequel, remake, ripoff, or sequel. So Twilight Saga: New Moon, Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, The Pink Panther 2, G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, and weirdly, the winner is Land of the Lost.
Yeah, that's surprising.
It is odd. It's like the Oscars when you get something that like when Parasite won Best Picture, it's like, okay, well, it's obviously going to win Best Foreign Film as well, isn't it? And it's weird that Transformers won overall but didn't win its own category.
Yeah, and big with director, screenplay, worst picture, so you're thinking all of it, but no, but somehow it's a worse adaptation of Transformers. I mean, I haven't seen any of the original one. I mean, if that's kind of your like criteria, that is based just purely on the adaptation. Like maybe Transformers was more faithful.
That's
Land of the Lost was less faithful or something or whatever.
That's what I was gonna say. Is Land of the Lost not like a boomer like TV show?
You think so? Again, I'm confusing it with many other Flintstones.
I think Land of the Lost was a big TV show. Land of the Lost just strikes me as Mr. Razzie's probably too old to play with Transformers, but he's probably the right age to have watched Land of the Lost on TV. And so maybe he was just personally offended by, what? No, that's not what this is supposed to be about. Danny McBride shouldn't be selling titty mugs in Land of the Lost. So that's all I can really think of.
Yeah. So if that's the case, I mean, write into us. Let us know if Land of the Lost is a very unfaithful, blasphemous adaptation.
Sorry for offending you all the boomer listeners. Please email us and send us an electronic mail telling us what Land of the Lost. Because, that's a good point if they're judging it on the adaptation. Because Transformers, as an adaptation of the toy series, Transformers kind of replicates being a kid in a sandbox smashing toys off each other. It's just that for 2.5 hours.
And if that's not the criteria, then if it's just the worst sequel, it is a much worse sequel. It's probably it's got to be a worse sequel compared to the faithfulness of Land of the Lost adaptation. Right, because following the original Transformers, this is a massive steep in decline.
Imagine a kid playing with their Transformers, and they had like a little army man or something, and this is like Sam Witwicky's mom who's like digging a pop around. Okay, this is so one of the omissions we had earlier on was Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh, yeah,
do you not feel that's a really bad adaptation?
Yeah, that's a much worse adaptation, because it is actively going against what is beloved and what people like about any of the Dragon Ball series and things. It's made by someone who hasn't watched it. You know,
Yeah.
it's notoriously bad for adaptations. All your anime live actions usually do suck, but when you've got a budget, I'd say that's got to be a massive omission here.
Because I liked Dragon Ball when I was like 10 years old, and then I was like, that's it. I'm grown up now. I've got to be cool and move on to like more mature interests like Spider-Man. And so I remember it came out when we were at Asda, and I was looking at the DVD being like, I was like, oh, I'm kind of interested to see, like, I'm not interested in the film because that's lame and for geeks, but I'm morbidly curious to see like what things looked like.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I was like, what? This is so mundane. It's just a guy with like big hair.
It really is.
I remember speaking to like mutual friend who loves that kind of thing, and I was like, "Hey, mutual friend, like, where's like Piccolo? Where's like the glowing? Like, where's the flying stuff? Where's the worlds being blown?" And he's like, "Yeah, none of that.
None of it. It's and it's kind of bizarre because I don't think that you'd get like a Dragon Ball Evolution now. You wouldn't get something with that budget and that release and distribution and just actively go against the source material.
Yeah, they should.
Like the Ghost in the Shell live action and stuff was super faithful compared to Dragon Ball. At least had things that would pull across and recognizable elements and things. It's a weird little anomaly evolution, and it should have won.
Yeah, if Mr. Razzie spent more time being down with the kids and less time watching Land of the Lost reruns, then maybe nominations would be there. I'm sorry, Mr. Razzie. Please do still invite us to the ceremonies for next year. We'd love to attend. Worst director: Phil Trail for All About Steve, Stephen Sommers for G.I. Joe: The Rise of Cobra, Brad Silberling for Land of the Lost, Walt Becker for Old Dogs, and Michael Bay, the winner for Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen.
100%.
Yeah.
Rightful winner.
I meant to mention this the other week. Did you know he apparently worked on Indecent Proposal?
Who? Bay?
Bay.
What?
Apparently Bay was like not second unit director or something. I read that Bay apparently shot like some of the gambling scenes.
Okay.
Just like when they're playing craps and the dice. Yeah. Like apparently some of that was Michael Bay.
No way.
Which is fascinating.
Wow. All comes together, doesn't it?
Yeah. Michael Bay's key to all of this. Worst screenplay. Okay, so this is where we get into it. For me, I don't know if Transformers can be considered the worst screenplay because I'm almost surprised that there was one.
I mean, that's what I was trying to say. There are 3 people, but was there 3 pages?
Yeah.
Like person a page?
Like, you know those movies like All Is Lost, the Robert Redford movie where he's on the boat and the screenplay is only like 20 pages long or something. I thought Transformers would be like, okay, yeah, Sam's going to college, and then after the first 15 pages, it's just like robots fight against varying backdrops. Because looking at it, I was like, yeah, it's convoluted and boring, and like certainly loads of red flags for a screenplay, but also I don't know if the screenplay was entirely the issue.
Well, if there was none, I mean, we're going to have to go find this. There must be a copy online. There must have. And if this is a 600-page screenplay that he's just pulled apart into it, maybe every frame of fighting is described in intricate detail. So,
cut to one of the Transformers. They have testicles for some reason.
Just cut to.
But you're right. Looking at it and looking at these lists, I would say I don't know what I would give the Razzie to otherwise. The New Moon screenplay isn't great, but when you're adapting a book, how can you deal with like when your book is Bella is sad because her vampire boyfriend left and she meets a werewolf.
You're more the Twilight expert than I am, but Stephanie Meyer was involved in the film, was she? Was she overseeing anything?
No, I think she was actually I think this came just before. I think 50 Shades of Grey was the big one where E.L. James became more involved as the series went on. Because I think Gillian Flynn wrote the screenplay for Gone Girl, and I think Gillian Flynn around 2013 was the big 2014. I think Gillian Flynn was the big it happened, but I think Gillian Flynn was the sea change for after her. Every novelist was like, "Hey, I can write my own screenplay."
Yeah, it's how easy. I can write a novel. I can write a screenplay. Yeah.
Because that started the E.L. James and then J.K. Rowling with the Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
Stephanie Meyer was certainly hands on, but I don't think she ever wrote any of the screenplays.
Okay.
I think she at least left that to the screenwriters.
Okay.
So it's not one of those here's someone who just fundamentally does not understand the medium of film trying to write a film.
Okay, fair enough. That's fair enough.
Okay, so that concludes this episode.
Oh. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry for having to make it. Listen, I talked about Transformers and like I was saying, just in a little conclusion, the joy I felt from Mummy Dearest and Indecent Proposal and even Diana, this is a new low.
Yeah.
I am taking back everything I moaned about.
Yeah, this is comfortably the worst film we've seen. Yeah. The most grating. It's the longest. It's been the only one that felt like it was hard to get through.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Sitting in a chair, just having my eyes open and looking at the screen felt like a labyrinth, exactly, a labour. So hopefully things will pick up from here. So next week we are taking a break with scheduled programming to bring you the first of our specials.
Yeah.
So every 4 episodes we're going to take a break from the year by year, and we're going to do a special about a key part of Razzie history, an actor, a film that escaped nomination, a bad movie that we think is worthy of consideration. And next week, we are tackling what surely, knowing everything we know about the Razzies, has to be the front runner for Best Picture, Worst Actor, Worst Supporting Actor, worst... this surely has to be the big hitter for next year's Razzies. It's My Son Hunter.
I can't wait.
The Breitbart biopic of Hunter Biden.
I cannot. I'm excited. I was excited for Indecent Proposal, but I'm more excited for this. This is...
Because it's new.
It's new, it's fresh, it's insane, and I don't know what to expect. Other than the trailer,
The trailer has a lot of promise in terms of it looks well, we just spoke about it. It's like someone trying to do a Martin Scorsese tribute, like a bargain bucket Wolf of Wall Street. They've got the song that sounds as close to Black Skinhead as you can get without having to pay Kanye royalties, and all the cuts, the stylization. Maybe there's a little bit of Big Short mixed in there with Breaking the Fourth Wall and Gina Carano's monologues, but it just looks like a complete disaster.
But I'm sure I said to you before, I think the one thing that's going to stop it winning Worst Picture is its release, its distribution.
Oh, you're right.
I don't think it'll be eligible for a Razzie because it's not eligible for an Oscar.
I don't know. I think they changed the rules with the pandemic and the My Pillow guy. I don't think the My Pillow guy got a theatrical release.
Well then, what's the point, Mr. Razzie? You just throw everything out the window then.
Because they obviously changed the Oscars changed their
was
release
that not
criteria.
just for that specific time?
Yeah, before the pandemic, they abandoned the criteria of having to have a cinematic release, and the Razzies said they would go in step, and then I think they might have even said that they were gonna stick with it.
Because if this is the case going forward, then the quality is going to drop dramatically.
I don't know. I think it's probably just going to be something that they'll just use whenever there's a convenient opportunity.
Transmorphers don't win,
they're not going to be watching what would have been direct to DVD.
Yeah.
But I think it just means if there's a particularly diabolical streaming movie or someone who they don't like politically, I think this will. I don't think it'll expand the films they review, but I think it just means they won't use it as a barrier to prevent them attacking something.
Fair point.
No, that's a good point though. I hadn't thought about it, the eligibility. We should maybe write to them.
Mr. Razzie.
Mr. Razzie, is My Son Hunter eligible?
Yeah.
That is a good point though.
He's got Twitter?
The Razzies, I think.
Guess we up tweet him.
Okay, so join us next week for My Son Hunter. and a film which we expect to be infinitely more enjoyable than
it's going to be
Transformers.
And it can't be 2.5 hours. I'm saying this now, but it can't be 2.5 hours. Watch me eat my words. But yeah, thanks once again for joining us.
If you want to follow us, then we are at Watching Worst on Twitter. If you want to get in touch via email, it's watchingworstfilms@gmail.com. That includes you, Mr. Razzie, if you want to invite us to the next ceremony, or even just let us know if My Son Hunter is eligible.
Yeah, and I'm telling you now, Mr. Razzie, you invite us to the awards and we invite you on podcast. Quid pro quo. We can do this. On you come.